What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy the Hater up in this mug, and it's SummerSlam Saturday. You know, remember when pay-per-views were on Sundays? How much better was that, honestly? Saturday, it's like, well, Saturday is kind of like my Sunday because I've constructed my schedule so that I work on Sundays, and then I have Friday and Saturday off. So it's the same for me, kind of, but for everybody else, it's just pay-per-views are supposed to be on Sundays. You know what I mean? They're just not supposed to be on Saturdays, right? The Smackdown ratings have steadily decreased over the last few weeks, over the last month, if you will. Now they're almost sub 2 million, which really gets to the point that I was making before, right? That, like I said, 6 months after WrestleMania, SmackDown will be sub 2 million. Things are going down the drain. This SmackDown was no different, really. Once again, nothing happened. So let's get to the SmackDown review, cucks. Cody Rhodes has another face-off with Solo Sikoa, right? This is nothing special because they've had this face-off 100 times one way or another, right? Sometimes Solo beats him up, sometimes he doesn't. Cody Rhodes is just a terrible champion. I mean, let's just call it like it is. I think it's time for another Cody Rhodes sucks video, honestly, because it's like every week I'm reminded how much this guy sucks. But anyways, the fans start chanting, "We want Roman," right? Which means that Solo Sikoa has done his job. Simple as that, right? The fans also, they care about Cody Rhodes because he is the champion. But who cares, right? Solo Sikoa does a pretty decent job on the mic. Nothing crazy, of course, but, he's better than people say he is, right? And Cody Rhodes is just trash. Like, he's just boring. He says some things that don't make any sense. First of all, he completely downplays himself, right? He's like, "I'm not afraid of you, Solo." And then at a certain point, he looks at Jacob Fatu, he says, "And I know this is crazy to say, but I'm not afraid of you either, you big son of a bitch." Like, why is that crazy to say? Like, the WWE champion should be afraid of nobody. He's a WWE champion, especially if he's a face. So this idea that Cody Rhodes is like questioning whether he's afraid of a mid-card jobber, Jacob Fatu, I've never seen anything like this in my life, to be honest. Like, this would be like if Stone Cold said to Al Snow, "I'm not afraid of you, Al Snow." No! Stone Cold, if he wanted to, he would drag Al Snow by the hair to the middle of the ring, flip him off, and hit the stunner on him, and that would be that. And then maybe pour a beer over his body. So this is really dumb. But anyways, Cody Rhodes once again makes this about being part of the Rhodes family. He's like, "You guys are all born hating Cody Rhodes." No, nobody gives a fuck about Cody Rhodes, right? Solo Sikoa was in this company, I think, before Cody Rhodes came back. Yeah, he was. He must have been, right? Before Cucky came back. And the whole idea of Solo Sikoa is like, yo, I don't have time to like deal with this shit, Like, I want to be the champion. The bloodline's number one. There's nothing in the bloodline that has anything to do with some perceived rivalry that Cody Rhodes thinks exists between the Rhodeses and the Anoa'i, or the annoying family, as I call them, right? This is not a thing, right? It's like there's one guy, I forget his name now, or else I would plug him here. But he thinks he and I are like YouTube rivals. His channel has like 3 views, right? He's like, and he commented on something on one of my posts, and I commented back. And then we had like this back and forth on one of his videos, I think, right? Because I went to make fun of him. And then he's like, "Look, you and I have been beefing for years now." And I'm like, I have no fucking idea who you are, bro. Like, this is the most one-sided thing ever, right? It's the same thing with Cucky Rhodes and these other guys. Like, Cody Rhodes thinks he's in this like, feud to establish wrestling's royal family. There's only one royal family in wrestling, and it's called McMahon. Everybody else are just employees, right? The Hart family, the annoying family, the Rhodes family. They're just employees. Right? And nobody from any of these families has ever been a top star. Oh, Bret Hart was. No, he wasn't. Except for The Rock. But The Rock's not really part of the Anoa'i family, right? He's not part of that family at all. Oh, they did a blood pact. Like, yeah, whatever, man. In the real world, the way that we look at families for real, he's not part of that family for real, right? Anyways, that's not here nor there. The point is that most of the stars, like the John Cenas, the Stone Colds, the Hogans, they have nothing to do with these families, right? These families are not royal families. They're mid-card families. Anyways, this promo leads to absolutely nothing because there's nothing interesting about this feud, right? I think anybody can agree with that. I don't think that's controversial at all, right? Nobody actually wants to see this shit. Now, if it is what it is, and it is what we're going to see, then we're going to have to tolerate it. But hopefully, we don't need to, right? Then we have Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes, right? This is just an undercard match. Nobody cares about this in the slightest, right? Nobody cares about this at all, let's be honest. So, Andrade wins. It was not a bad match overall, but it's like, I don't care because I don't care who wins, right? Nothing's going to come of this, right? Then we have another match. It's the exact same thing, except it's Paulo Cruz versus Santos Escobar, right? A complete waste of time. Nobody cares. Basically, Legado del Fantasma, which are like an undercard, like they're like a bottom of the undercard act, right? Like, don't ever worry about seeing Santos Escobar on pay-per-view. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe in like a 10-man match, right? But, you know, it goes without saying, none of these people that are wrestling today have any role whatsoever on SummerSlam, right? They're just all jobbers. Then Logan Paul comes out and cuts another promo. I don't care about this. Like, Logan Paul is great. He's a great heel. But he was booed. You know, obviously, the whole point is he's from there. But he's going to be booed. The people get it. Logan Paul has a segment with LA Knight. The segment is boring and nobody really cares about it at all. So there you have it, right? Then we have Bianca Belair versus the Unholy Union. Tiffany Stratton also gets a Money in the Bank, a new one. Nobody cares about any of this shit. Like, the Jade Cargill has been around for like what feels like a year. I know it hasn't been like a full calendar year, but I think she was signed in like December or something, right? And this run has been a complete disaster, a complete bust. Like, nobody cares about this at all, motherfucks. Nobody cares about this feud. Nobody cares about the Unholy Union, and quite frankly, for the fact that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair were like very, very high picks for SmackDown, the fact that they're not even on pay-per-view speaks volumes. These girls suck at this point, right? Jade Cargill still has star qualities, but it's like you got to pull the trigger. If you don't, then Jade Cargill, it's going to pass you by, right? It's going to pass you by. You're not going to be able to do what you need to do. Then, obviously, we don't even need to talk about this. This was dumb. Obviously, DIY, like everyone predicted, are transitional champions. They're jobbers. DIY are never going to be serious anything, right? Like, Johnny Gargano is never going to be a serious wrestler with a serious gimmick or a serious run, right? And Tommaso Ciampa, same thing. So, obviously, together, they're also not going to be anything special, right? This is just the facts, right? So, nobody's serious, expected DIY to win. You know, they had a good showing, right? Because you have to kind of like maintain the prestige of the tag titles, and obviously, you know, it is what it is. Like, the Bloodline did Bloodline shit, but you know, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are now the tag team champions. It should have been. I understand they want to push Jacob Fatu, but I don't understand why not just give him like a mid-card title. Like let's be real. You know, the way that Jacob Fatu is booked versus the way LA Knight is booked, Jacob Fatu has a bigger ceiling in the eyes of Triple H. So just have him be that guy, right? You know, if you're not going to have him be that guy, then what's the point? You know, just have Jacob Fatu become a mid-card champion, and then the other two can hold the tag team titles, because the Bloodline never has had a mid-card title, right? And then, you know, that also legitimizes Solo Sikoa. Him leading the other guys to win the tag team titles is irrelevant, because this just proves that Solo Sikoa hasn't won anything. But maybe they'll have a good long title reign, or at least just do it through the Freebird rule. You know what I mean? Like, any two members can defend the tag team titles. That's how I would have done it. Overall, the episode of Smackdown is boring and does absolutely nothing. I personally believe that this tag match, given that it is for the tag team titles, should have been a shorter match and should have made it to SummerSlam. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you can cut out some of the Slim Jim commercials you plan on having and have this match, and it would have made the event much, much better, right? Because you could start off with this match, right? And that can build a story that is established during this pay-per-view, right? During SummerSlam, you can establish a few things. You can establish primarily that we've got good old Solo Sikoa pushing the Bloodline forward, starting with them winning the tag team titles in match 1, and then Solo Sikoa falls short, obviously, in beating Cody Rhodes. I personally hope that Solo Sikoa wins, but let's be real. I don't think anybody cares what happens in this match. I think the only reason people are going to watch is because everyone is expecting, with SummerSlam being the second most important pay-per-view of the year, or so they tell us, everyone is expecting that Roman Reigns is going to appear, right? So, or maybe not expecting, that might not be the right word, but everyone is hoping that Roman Reigns is going to be there. So, with all that being said, it's really that simple. You know what I mean? It's just really that simple. He needs to return at some point. Why not now? Some people are saying it's too soon. I personally don't think so because he's the only main eventer left in this damn company. But that's why everyone's watching. Like, I don't give a shit who wins, right? I don't think anybody does. So this SmackDown, since it got nothing moving forward, gets a 0 out of 10. I don't care that the Andrade and Carmelo Hayes match was good. It was good, but I'm not excited for it because there's no point in it happening, right? Like, the feud is, can Carmelo Hayes beat Andrade? And it's like, this is just like such a step backwards. You know, there was a point where the NXT champion, I'm not saying had parity with like, you know, the WWE or the World Heavyweight Champion. There's never been parity between any of the titles, really, but certainly not the NXT title. But at the very least, he was treated as someone, you know, at least you would expect that the mid-card titles have parity with the NXT title. Like, you would expect that it's equally prestigious to be like NXT champion as it is to be United States champion, right? Depending on the circumstances, of course, right? But you would expect Carmelo Hayes to come in here and wrestle the likes of like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, main event Jey Uso, you know what I mean? Like even at least The Miz, right? That kind of, you know, like Dolph Ziggler if he was still around. He should be wrestling those types of people. But instead, he's wrestling an undercard nobody called Andrade. So, you know, this has been a disaster. And the storyline, to make matters worse, to add insult to injury, the storyline is, can Carmelo beat the undercard jobber? And the answer is, no, he can't. So there you have it, Gux. 0 out of 10 up in this bitch.